privately, I regretted in Owen a want of honor, and I may say justice, towards those whose labor and zeal he used to obtain the materials for advancing his own reputation.
The fall severely damaged his back. He tried to recover at home, but as the days passed, paralysis began to spread through his body, and a tumour appeared at the base of his spine. He was only 50. While Mantell could barely move, Richard Owen took advantage of his rival's misfortune. He sought out every specimen available that might shed further light on the iguanodon, Hylaeosaurus and Megalosaurus.
Anything else? They're waiting on dry land.
At Horsham, in Sussex, Owen sought out the Quaker George Bax Holmes, fossil collector and businessman.
While I struggled to regain my health, Richard Owen took the opportunity to travel the country inspecting existing fossil collections and every new find that appeared at a dealer's. Men who for years had dealt mainly with me.
Has Mantell seen this iguanodon, Joe?
No, Professor. Thou art the first.
This is quite prodigious. The largest yet found.
The doctor will have to revise his estimates.
Mantell is seriously indisposed. I will revise them for him.
Just in from the Isle of Wight, Professor Owen.
The lower spine of an iguanodon. Very good, sir. A splendid acquisition.
Dr. Mantle usually likes to see anything in this line that comes my way, but I've heard nothing from him.
Well, he'll be overjoyed to read about it in my report.
You'll write it up then, Professor. It really is rather special.
Indeed it is. You see how the vertebrae are fused together?
Yes.
I've seen the same thing in Dr. Buckland's Megalosaurus. We ourselves have a fused lower spine, as do all mammals. It imparts great strength to the spine, equipping mammals to bear their weight on dry land.
Privy to specimens I had not seen, Owen had glimpsed the truth that was going to raise him to the highest pinnacle of scientific achievement and leave me forever in the obscurity of his shadow.
The fused sacrum was a crucial new discovery for the dinosaur hunters and allowed Owen to father a new order of the most advanced reptiles that had ever lived.
These creatures have been thought to be giant versions of our modern reptiles, but they are something more.
They are undoubtedly the most perfect modifications of the reptilian type, combining reptile characteristics with the bone structure of mammals. Using Homer's word, Dionos, terrible, great, inconceivable, I propose the name Dinosaur.
In those few words, Richard Owen sealed the fate of Gideon Mantell. Owen's conceptual leap in defining the characteristics of the dinosaurs cast the spotlight on his own brilliance in interpreting the fossil record It was Mantell, years earlier, who had discovered the prehistoric world and named its first creatures. But Owen had carefully slid Mantell out of the story, and in coining the term dinosaurs, Owen took the credit for their discovery.
My life had schooled me in swallowing disappointments, but Owen did not confine himself to this masterstroke. Once again, he took the opportunity to belittle his predecessors in the field.
Dr. Mantell had conceived of these creatures as monstrous versions of our living lizards.
Owen said they walked like elephants and rhinos.
Dr. Mantell pictured the Hylaeosaurus as having a row of spines along its back.
Owen declared I was wrong. They were, in fact, ribs.
Dr. Mantell's exaggerated comparisons of the iguanodon to the iguana has misled paleontologists as to its size.
I had speculated the iguanodon might reach 100 feet in length. Owen shrank it to 28. There's a strong feeling of jealousy towards me evinced by Owen. It is to be deeply regretted that this eminent and highly gifted man cannot act with candor or liberality. This ought not to be, for no one can have been more liberal than I have been.
Richard Owen, the father of the dinosaurs, was now a star in Victorian England and could do no wrong. The Prime Minister, Sir Robert Peel, commissioned his portrait for his own private gallery. He was introduced to Prince Albert. He was granted a pension of £200 a year from the civil list and invited to tutor the royal children. Buckland, too, was moving on. In 1845, after 20 years at Oxford, he left to become Dean at Westminster, one of the most powerful positions in the Anglican hierarchy. The church job came as a welcome opportunity to escape the increasing battles, both intellectual and personal, that he had been drawn into. By now it was clear to him that science and religion could not be reconciled. But a scientist who loved God, it was a personal tragedy. With Buckland out of the running, and Owen claiming credit for discovering the dinosaurs, Mantell's pride and ambition forced him back into the Geological Forum. He began putting another collection together. In March 1848, he received a fragment of the lower jaw of an adult iguanodon. This was the treasure he'd searched for 36 years. He immediately presented the unique specimen to the Royal Society.
Hitherto brought to light. The present fossil confirms every essential particular of the detached teeth of my memoirs of 1825. An eminent paleontologist has estimated that the length of the head of the largest iguanodon to be only 30 inches. This fossil proves that the length of the jaw alone of this iguanodon to be in excess of 3 feet.
Dr. Mantell has no rival in his zeal for accumulating details of the extinct saurians and disseminating information about them to a popular audience. However, I must make so bold as to correct him on a point. This is not the first indisputable iguanodon jaw brought to light. A smaller and more perfect specimen of the jaw has already been found at Horsham. and its details communicated to me. I shall be publishing on this subject to establish my new findings.
Owen had known about the Horsham specimen for some time, but he'd waited for just such a moment before announcing it. Owen's attack at the Royal Society spurred Mantell to fight back, to reassert his reputation. He was racing not merely against Owen, but against the decline of his own health. He was suffering dreadful spasms in the legs, thighs, and stomach. Taking brandy and water with laudanum, ether and camphor, chloroform, all to no avail.
I was able to show that many bones which Owen had attributed to other creatures were in fact from the iguanodon, and this confirmed my earlier view of the iguanodon with slender forefeet and grasping hands. I could now see it as a creature walking on two legs, a far cry from Owen's clumsy beast. A giant reptile walking on two legs. This was indeed an original vision.
With this success, Gideon Mantell's name was submitted for the prestigious Royal Medal, the greatest honour in British intellectual life.
Sir Charles Lyell is unable to attend and has sent his apologies.
Our main business is to consider nominations for the Royal Medal for Geology.
Professor Forbes' work on glaciers is very impressive.
And surely Gideon Mantell should be considered for his work on the iguanodon.